Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something huge, that massive gap between what a company says it wants to do and what actually happens on the ground. It's a problem that sinks even the best strategies. And guess what? AI is making it even trickier. We're going to break down the key insights from Ian Adkins' white paper on how to finally close that gap. All right, let's kick things off with a number. A really big one that honestly should make every single leader out there sit up and pay attention. And that number is 70%.
70%. So what is that? Well, according to research from big firms like McKinsey, that is the failure rate for large-scale business transformations. And here's the kicker. It's not because the strategy was bad. Nope, the real reason is something hiding in plain sight, something that just quietly kills off even the most brilliant plans.
So, what is this silent killer of strategic transformation? That's a big question we're digging into in this explainer. We're not just going to name it, we're going to show you exactly how to take it down.
Okay, Section 1, the silent killer. So what is it? Well, at its core, the problem is this huge gap. The gap between what a company plans to do and what its people actually do every single day.
Think of it like two different worlds inside the same company. On one side, you've got strategy. That's the formal plan, right? It comes from the top down. It's what we say we'll do. But then, you've got culture. And that's the unwritten rules, the bottom-up reality. It's what we actually do. And that disconnect, well, that's what we call the culture-strategy gap. And when those two forces aren't pulling in the same direction, your strategy just grinds to a halt. Your big transformation projects fail. It really is that simple.
I mean, look at a classic, if painful, example, the Volkswagen emissions scandal. We're talking a cost of over $30 billion. Now, that wasn't just a technical screw-up, it was a catastrophic cultural failure. Their official stated value was integrity, but the actual culture on the ground, it was all about hitting aggressive targets, no matter what it took. That's the culture strategy gap in action, and man, was it costly.
So, moving on to Section 2, why old models fail. You know, for decades we've been trying to fix this exact problem with all the traditional change management models. The thing is, they're just fundamentally flawed for the way we work today.
And you've probably heard of these, right? Kotter's 8 Steps, ADKR, Lewin's Change Model. They're classics. But here's the problem with all of them. They're built on this one big assumption, that if you just tell people about a change and explain it logically, they'll just rationally change their beliefs, and then, poof, their actions will follow. It's a nice idea, but it's just not how humans work. Modern behavioral science shows us the complete opposite is true. And I love this quote. People don't think their way into new behaviors, they behave their way into new ways of thinking. You have to get people to act differently first. The action comes before the change in mindset.
Okay, so just as we're finally figuring that out, a brand new, incredibly powerful force has crashed the party, and it's making this whole culture problem way, way worse. I'm talking, of course, about artificial intelligence.
You see, AI is already silently reshaping how your team behaves, whether you're ready for it or not. While all the leaders are understandably focused on the productivity gains, AI is busy changing your company culture from the inside out, and it's doing it in 3 really critical ways. First, what the paper calls the outsourcing of judgment. We start relying on AI for answers, and our own critical thinking skills get rusty. Second, the erosion of true collaboration. You know, that deep, trust-building debate gets replaced by super efficient but siloed messages. And third, the devaluing of experience. Those foundational tasks that used to build expertise in your junior people, they're getting automated away. Now, if you just let this happen, these shifts can seriously weaken the very fabric of your company.
All right, so if the old models are totally broken and AI is just pouring gasoline on the fire, we obviously need a new way forward. A new way to think about creating change that actually sticks.
And the solution is actually beautifully simple. We need to stop trying to change these big, abstract things like values. Instead, we need to focus on designing concrete, repeatable behaviors. The real shift happens when you stop with the top-down orders and start creating an environment where the right actions just happen naturally.
So how do you actually do that? Well, the white paper lays out a really practical three-part framework to make this happen. It's called Diagnose, Design, Deliver.
So step one is diagnose. You have to get real about where your culture and strategy are actually misaligned. Step two is design. Here, you don't try to boil the ocean. You define the critical few behaviors that will close that gap. And then step three is deliver. And this is key. You embed these new behaviors using peer influence, the power of the group, not just top-down commands from leadership.
Let's look at a real-world example of how this works. The Irish Health Service is a fantastic case study. They were struggling with a super bureaucratic culture, and basic, crucial patient-focused behaviors just weren't happening.
So they did their diagnosis, and they found one simple but really important behavior. Before they started, only about half of the staff were routinely introducing themselves to patients. Think about that. It's so simple, but it's absolutely vital for building trust.
So what did they do? They didn't send out memos about patient centricity. Instead, they focused on that one single behavior. They empowered peer-nominated champions to model it, to lead by doing. And the result? Just look at that. It jumped from 50% to 99%. That is a huge cultural shift, and it was driven entirely by focusing on one concrete behavior, not abstract values. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's simple, but it's profound. Your culture is not some fluffy, nice-to-have afterthought. It is the actual engine that drives your strategy forward, or holds it back.
And look, this isn't just a theory. There is hard data to back it up. Research shows that the companies that get this right, the ones that intentionally link their culture to their strategy, what they call culture accelerators, they don't just do a little better. They significantly outperform their peers. We're talking more than double the growth, 9.1% versus 4.4%. That is a massive difference.
Which brings us to a really clear choice that every single leader has to make. You can either design your culture on purpose with real intent, or you can let it design itself by default. And make no mistake, there is absolutely no middle ground. So this leaves us with one final and maybe uncomfortable question for you to think about. Right now, in your own organization, is your culture the engine that's driving your strategy forward? Or is it the anchor that's silently derailing it? Because I guarantee you, one of those two things is happening right now. And figuring out which one it is, well, that's the first step to making sure your strategy actually has a fighting chance to succeed.